What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Vras, and today I have a comparison of two cities that I want to talk about that I don't think you guys would expect to be compared, that they would be a similar type of deal. And that, my friends, is Rodoroc, the city underneath the lava-infused Molten Heights area, right? Crazy, crazy cool place. Versus Nesaak, of all places, the frozen tundra just before you eventually make it into the jungle here in the Wind province. So they're on opposite sides of the province, and now there's many reasons why I think that they should be compared. They deserve it. But first, I want to just take a look at them, and I want to see how they look like as a place themselves, right? Let's actually compare them. So let's go ahead and go to Rodoroc, and while we're going there, I'm going to tell you why these places are indeed similar. Look, if you think about it, they both have tragic backstories where there is a battle of like two factions, right? In Rodoroc, they fight against the people in Mayex, in the city over here on top as well. They fight against these people, the Coltrons or whatever. There's a whole battle, right? The whole story of Rodoroc is a battle of two sides, right? In this lava-infused area, it's a battle of two sides, and how us as a player, we put an end to it. If you think about it, Nesaak has a similar deal going on, where they have a squid population living underneath their frozen lake here, underground squid village, and they're kind of like, hey, don't take all the fish, or like they have like these grievances, and you find out that like, look, we need a fish in order to be able to feed our people as well. While it's not as pronounced and as ingrained in the story as in Rodoroc, it's interesting that they do have a similar job like that. Also, they functionally serve the same purpose. Now, this is the main reason why I picked them out, is they are both made to be the second to last city in the game. When they were first made, right? Nesaak was released alongside Troms, right? And you would go to Nesaak, and then once you finally got high enough a level, you would go through Nesaak and into Troms, level 50, right? It's a move from level 40 to level 50. This was like the progression. It's the second to last there. Like, you will have traveled to Rymek by now, to Almuz, to Nemrak, and then you'll reach Nesaak, and then you'll reach Troms, right? That's kind of the progression. Kind of a similar thing here in the Gavel province. You start in Levigar, Olux, Skelebord, Sinfrost, right? And then you go through all these places, and you eventually reach Rodoroc, which will finally take you to Amsord in the Sky Islands, whereas like the finality of the game was actually meant to be, right? Of course, and this is all up until the Southern Expanse came out, but that's a whole different story. We can get into that story later. But they functionally serve as a second to last city in the game, and also they are more secluded than some other cities. Rodoroc, besides the one teleport I have to it, in order to leave, I pretty much need to use a tunnel that'll take me back to Thanos, which Nesaak has a similar deal where it will have the only other transportation from Nesaak is a boat that'll take you to Nemrak, which is kind of cool. So they both have like one quick transportation, and then other than that, you kind of just have to go on foot. Rodoroc, you'll have to go on foot to Amsord, or on foot to Sinfrost, or that way. Same thing with Nesaak. You could take the boat to Nemrak, but you might as well just go on foot to Detlessing, or go on foot to Troms. It's not a place of quick movement, and that's very interesting. They're kind of secluded out in their own little area, while like kind of like Almuz as well, but Nesaak more so because of the frozen place, and there are some mountains guarding this area, although not as much. Okay, and the lore for these places is not so based on the whole world. It's more based around its own issues. It's more an individual area, right? It's more encased in its own thing. While something like Sinfrost and Deathless, their stories kind of intermingle with places everywhere. Rodoroc, it's kind of, the story is all here in the Molten Heights. And kind of same thing with Nesaak. Maybe there's a little bit of moving around for the Bob quest, but other than that, it's kind of localized to Nesaak here as well. So that's kind of why they're similar. And so I want to take a look at the build quality to see which one functions as a better second to last end game city, the one that's on the side, the one that's like you're in the thick of your gameplay, right? And it's so cool because they do follow like a juxtaposition of like that's the cold city, the frozen town, and then this is a lava fused fiery dwarf city, right? Now of course Rodoroc is much larger. It's got these grand walls, but the build quality is pretty bad, I would say. Everything is made out of stone. There's these gigantic lava pits, which while they make sense conceptually, they're not as interesting as like if you actually had buildings or something there. And I don't like the texturing, my personal opinion, on the walls and everything, the way that they tried to make it different. Like they still just use stone and stuff that doesn't really follow the aesthetic as nice as it could have. And so for that reason, Rodoroc, its build quality is not nice, but it is large and it is very impressive. Especially these statues here are kind of cool, but the build quality kind of ends off there. They do have this section, which to me is the best part of Rodoroc. They have this little place. This is where they get all of their energy from. It's from this little place over here. It's super cool and imposing, and the roofs here are super cool, but the actual city itself isn't that impressive. Now I want us to head over to Nesaak, and here we have Nesaak. Now Nesaak has had a major renovation, right? You have very good build quality, but it's a lot smaller, right? It's a much smaller, less imposing, but it's a lot more complex. It's a lot more of a complex city than Rodoroc is, where it's just a gigantic square. Here in Nesaak, it's one long alley, right? One long alley with a cross through it, of very complex houses and a lot of teeny little bits of lore all caked inside of it, like a nice big thing. I love the new aesthetic that they did upgrade to this. And so while this is a much smaller city, I personally think that it visually looks better. And if we're going to be talking about the story, here's a few differences. Obviously, the hot and cold aesthetic, I personally like. I feel like I should like the hot aesthetic more, but this cold aesthetic really fits the vibe. And it really makes sense for why the cold is here. Now, part of the lore of Nesaak is that it's not frozen for no reason. It's frozen because of the dungeon that it has here. And it's frozen because Theoric, the ice defender, he froze the place as a way to stop the corruption from spreading, right? However, there's really no explanation for why Rodoroc is so filled with lava. I mean, mountains and volcanoes could be a reason, but there's no really any volcanoes here. And lava, I feel like it's just how the world generated, you know, it's just like how this place came to be, but it doesn't really make sense. So I really like the explanation for the frozen area here, because otherwise it wouldn't really make sense in this grand scheme of things. Another thing is that with Nesaak, you have much faster transportation in general, because this place is the Wind Province is a bit, it's not that it's smaller, Nesaak is a bit more central, where like you can easily get to Deathless very fast, right? It's just an open road for you to get there. Meanwhile, in Rodoroc, to get to Sinfrost, yes, you can go to Thanos, but then you have to travel around Ozoth Spire. There's a ton of these mountains, and because it's much higher level in the game, it's a lot more annoying to travel this area than it is to travel the other way around. So I love the quick travel that Nesaak has, and for that reason, honestly, Nesaak kind of wins out on that. Also, and then also the final reason that I think I'm going to pick Nesaak in this case is because Nesaak has a dungeon. And now this to me is one of the big things that really ruins a lot of Gavel provinces. A lot of, whoa, what is this? A Treant Bastion? That looks sick. Okay, anyways, I'm losing my train of thought. One of the reasons that makes the Wind Province so much better, in my opinion, than Gavel is simply the addition or the existence of dungeons. Gavel has the forgery, and I've already made a video on why I'm not the biggest fan of the forgery, but Rodoroc doesn't have anything like that. No reason you would come back. You would come back to the Ice Barrows because why? There's a dungeon here. Why? There's lore associated with it, and you kind of have to do it because it is a dungeon. Rodoroc, all it has in it is 4 quests. It's 4 quests for the whole story of Rodoroc, and then you're done with the whole area pretty much forever. I mean, there are secret discoveries and things to learn, and Mayex is a pretty cool city, but like, there just isn't that much there. So personally, my opinion is that Nesaak acts and functions as a better second to last endgame city, and better as one of those extreme biomes places than Rodoroc does. Yeah, I think it functions better as that because it just makes more sense. There's a reason why it's frozen here. The city feels a lot more clustered. Do you feel like you're getting closer to the end game here? Especially like after you travel all this area, the traveling is a lot better. It makes sense story wise. And especially since the quality of the building, because this is a new city just recently renovated, it makes a lot more it looks a lot cooler in my personal opinion. Rodoroc is just way too out in the middle of the open, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Would you think that Rodoroc functions as a better extreme city to the final one, or does Nesaak work better? I'm curious what you guys think. I'm gonna let this video off right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.